Let's go, let's go. Alright, people wanna hate every day, it's okay.
All right, welcome back, Reckless Success. Tonight we got my beautiful wife Ellie on.
Hello.
Everybody loves Ellie. Tonight we're going to tell some stories, talk a little business, same skit as the last. So tonight I want to tell a story. Is it about the time I got hit by the deer?
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever you want
Is
to
that
talk
the one
about.
we talked about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So one time me and my roommate at the time, dump truck, we were riding four-wheelers and dirt bikes, having a good old day. We ride all day. No issues. Had a helmet on. We go back to our house and take showers because we were going to go over to a kegger that was down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have a headlight on my dirt bike, so I didn't even think about riding dirt bikes. I thought we were driving.
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, let's ride over there." Maybe we were just riding. Maybe we didn't go to the house and shower. For some reason, I thought we were driving, not riding.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, the only way I can do that is if we go down the road and I follow your headlights because it was getting dark. He's like, yeah, okay. And the sun was just going down, but it was like I could still see, but it was getting dark. And we pulled out of his mom's driveway, which was where you used to live, right close to it, back there in the
Sort
back.
of in the country back roads area.
Yeah. So these roads were oil and chip. So it's where they put down tar and then little rocks that stick to it. So it's like a rough surface. It's rougher than asphalt.
Yeah.
And we pull out of his driveway, and I'm on a CR 250 two-stroke dirt bike. And it's, sounding good and whatnot. So I can still see. We didn't wear our helmets. I remember that. Like, we always wore helmets when we rode.
Ooh.
But for some reason, I thought going down the road, I didn't want to mess up my hair or whatever, So
Your little bangs.
yeah, I wanted to pull up on the bike so I could flip my hair.
Yeah, look cool.
But I didn't have a helmet on. And I come out of the driveway and I start getting on it going down the road. And I just told him we'd go like 30 or 40, And what I do first thing is I take off down the road, ripping ass. And I get up probably 55, 60 mile an hour, somewhere in there. And he's behind me, but I've went around him. I was clearing it out. So he's back a little distance. And all of a sudden I saw two flashes of brown just like jump over my fender, and it all happened in a flash. Like I had 1 second to react. But I saw the two flashes of brown, and I knew it was a herd of deer.
Oh, God.
And I'd been watching Days of Thunder, so I gassed it. I just closed my eyes and gassed it.
Why, they tell you to gas it when you're in trouble on that movie?
Yeah, there's like a car wreck, and it's all smoky, so he just like gasses it and goes through. Well,
you told me before, or you said before when we were riding and like in the side-by-side, when in doubt, throttle out. And then one time when you were out of town, I was feeding our fish and about had a little wreck on a hill or something, like it was getting sketchy, and I was like, oh crap, I had like the feed trailer in the back, and I don't know how to ride anything
on the side-by-side.
I was on a side-by-side with the trailer on the back, and I thought about that, and I freaking gunned it and got out of it. I remember I told you that, and you were like, I wasn't serious when I say that. Like, don't do. That's not the way to. Like, that's not what you should have done. I was like, well, I didn't know what to do. I was about to tip over, so I just gunned it, and it worked.
I was like, hell, Ellie, I was drunk when I said that.
It saved me though. I made it up the hill barely.
When in doubt, throttle out.
Yeah. So anyway, Days of Thunder mode.
So, see the two flashes of brown. Been watching Days of Thunder. I just closed my eyes and gassed it. Like, it all happened instantly. The two went over my fender, and the third deer hit me right in the side.
Ooh.
And it hit me. Luckily, it wasn't a buck.
Oh my God.
But
yeah.
like the deer head hit me so hard that I had a bruise for like 6 months on my side where
Yeah, I
that hit
bet.
me.
Deer are like big, strong animals, really.
Yeah.
Like, they're big.
So the deer hits me. I go down on the bike, and again, I'm going like 55, 60, and the bike, I'm sliding underneath the bike down this oil and chip road with like just jeans, probably just regular jeans on and shoes or something. Nothing, no riding gear. Yeah, K-Swiss.
Yeah.
And I slid for like 75 feet down this road, but the deer flipped through the air and landed in the ditch. Well, dump truck thought that I was the deer. He didn't know what happened because he didn't see what was going on. He just
he thought you were flying through the air.
Yeah, he just
my
all
God.
of a sudden saw the bike going down the road and something flying through the air, and it was the deer. And he like pulled up, and the deer ran off. Of course, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I slid with the bike. So then he realizes I'm down the road with the bike, and he comes down, and I was tore up from the floor up. I mean, my hands, my knuckles, my back, and my head. Worst of all, my head had a spot like this big on it that was just nothing but raw meat and blood. And it broke some ribs. And that was probably like the worst part. Those ribs are,
Really?
oh yeah. Ribs are like the worst. They
Oh,
sting. Like other bones, they just hurt and go numb. But a rib, like anytime you move, it's stinging like crazy.
no.
So it broke some ribs, fractured a wrist, and then some stuff in my leg, like the smaller bones, the
God.
tibia and whatnot, broke those. And but my knee was so bad; it had like 3 just chunks. I never saw so much meat taken out. So it was like an
Ew.
indention in the skin.
Oh.
And then somehow my K Swiss didn't hold up to the wreck, and they flew off way back yonder. And my foot, like, because it was my left foot, and I fell on my left side, so my foot somehow turned upside down, and I drug the inside of my foot, and I've still got a scar
Oh.
like this on the inside of my foot, and then afterwards, and here on my hand on the top,
And on your head.
and my head, everything was like road rash.
It was
It was
bad.
so bad, but like it was worse than road rash. It wasn't just skin on the getting rashed. There was like meat missing. My hand had like concaved where it was missing.
Oh my God.
So that sucked. And dump truck pulls up to me, and I remember I was blood just pouring out. I'm trying to get up, but my ribs are keeping me down because I think I re-broke my collarbone on that one. That's the second collarbone break. I knew I broke it twice. So like I'm all messed up down on the ground, and he gets the bike and pushes it into the yard. I remember, and I'm laying in the middle of this road, and there's just blood just pouring out of my head,
Oh
and I'm
my
like, oh
God.
my gosh. And I was like, get in my pocket and get my phone because I had a cell phone. And he goes digging in my pocket and gets it out, and he's like about to call 911. I was like, take a picture. And he's like,
That's your concern.
you can probably find a picture when I got to the hospital. I've seen it.
Yeah, I have one.
You have that one.
It's
I wish I had the
blurry, but
picture that he
it's-
took in the
there's one of
road.
you.
Because for a long time we had a
Who
picture.
knows?
Dump truck, if you're watching this and you got that picture, send it to me. But yeah, I hold my hand up and there's like blood everywhere, and I give a thumbs up, and I'm on the road and blood's pouring out of my
That's
head, and I give
crazy.
a
That's,
thumbs
that's
up.
your thought.
Yeah. So then he calls the ambulance, and he goes back to get his mom. And while he's gone to get his mom, I remember laying in the road, and it's dark now.
He
And I
left
see-
you in the road.
He left me in the road. Well, I couldn't even move. I was
Oh
messed
my
up. Like
God.
I was messed up. So he didn't know if he could touch me or not. And I
Right.
couldn't
You could
move
have
myself.
a broken neck. Like, who
Yeah.
knows?
So he leaves me, and I'm laying in the road, and I remember seeing a car coming down the road. I'm like, oh. And as the car's getting closer, I see its headlights, and I'm
again,
like,
it's like
"Fuck."
country roads, so
Yes.
people are just flying. Not
People
paying
see something in
attention.
the road, they think it's a deer, and they ramp it. They're like, oh. Another one of those bucks.
Yeah.
I remember holding my hand up in the air, and I couldn't even see. I had so much blood, like it was in my eyes and stuff. And I could see the headlights coming, and I hold my arm up, and these people stop, and they get out. And then here comes another car, and it's Ann, dump truck's mom.
Oh.
And she's flying down the road in her caddy. She drove that caddy, and she pulled up, she jumped out, and she like, I remember I'm laying on the ground all messed up, and these people are all like, are you okay? But not touching me. Ann comes up, grabs me up, like
Oh.
she's like rocking me and praying for me and stuff, and I'm like, Ann, stop rocking me. I was like, my
It
chest is
hurts
hurting
so
like
bad.
crazy. Yeah,
Oh my God.
but she was definitely trying to help. So then Derek had called, like while the ambulance is coming, he called my dad or brother, one of them, or my mom. Told them they're like, hey, there's like a lot of blood
It's
coming out
bad.
of Jesse's head. It doesn't look good.
Oh.
So I remember the ambulance takes me to Carbondale, and when they open the door, my dad tells this part of the story. Like when they open the door, it's just bloody footprints. Like because they were all there when the ambulance got there.
Your family?
My brother, my mom, and my dad all drove separate. All heard about it separate, but they all three beat the ambulance
That's
to the
crazy.
hospital.
Your family shows up.
Yeah. So my dad said they opened the doors to get me out, and there was like bloody footprints all over the ambulance. He's like, "Oh man, that don't look good." But I was stable. I was like awake.
Yeah.
It was just road rash with meat missing, so I was like,
You got so many horrific wrecks that
right.
you like walked away from, like some broken bones. Yeah, you're in
How
pain
my teeth are all
temporarily.
still there. I don't
Right.
know, like not getting knocked
Beautiful
out.
teeth, but like you never broke your neck or your back or like a long-term injury, like a
I
becoming
did break my
disabled.
back, Ellie.
Oh, when?
Whenever I broke my collarbone the first time, it shattered those 3
Oh yeah,
vertebrae.
yeah, yeah.
2
But I
vertebrae.
mean, to the point of being unable to
Right,
live a normal
paralyzed.
life. Like you're very like God has a purpose for you, I feel like, and has
And I just keep trying to fuck
I
it up.
know you keep pushing it to the limit.
Right.
But really, because I mean think about all the chances you could have been done for, and
Yeah.
that's scary to think about. But anyway, so you were coherent sitting there
I was
after this wreck. Hey.
So they get me in there, and now they've got me on some medicine, so I'm feeling better. And I remember these two they were big black guys, come in, big bald headed dudes, and I'm like, and they're talking to each other, and I remember they had this bucket. No, that was the next guy. They come in and they're talking to each other, and they're not talking to me, and they start lifting up the bed sheet at the bottom of the bed, and I'm like naked under there. I'm like, hey, like, what are you two doing? Because they didn't look like doctors. They just had like gowns on, What's going on here? And they're like, you're not gonna like us, and I'm like, what? And it was the catheter people. So they put a catheter in me, and I'm like, you couldn't pick like some nerdy little guy or something. You got to get these two big black guys. Like I'm
Tough guys.
Hit me when I'm down, At least give me a chance here. So they put the catheter in. That was my first and only catheter I've had, which is horrible.
I can't imagine.
And then 10 minutes later, big biker dude comes in, and he's the one with the little bucket. And he's like, you're not going to like me? And I'm like, man, what? It can't
What
be
now?
it can't be no worse than the last guys. Like, they just shoved something up my pee hole.
Oh.
So he had a bucket of soap and water or whatever cleaning solution the hospital uses, and a brush. And he would have to put me in a headlock, like hold my head, and then he would scrub it because there was rocks all under the
God.
skin and in the wound. So he was cleaning it with me wide awake. Like, I'm just like this, and this dude's scrubbing. I could do it for like 10 seconds, and I'd be like, you got to stop. He'd stop. And to get to later on, for like 2 years at least, I had rocks come out of my head.
What?
Like, after it healed up, I would feel like a bump on my head where it was hard,
God.
and then I would mess with it, like a pimple, and a rock would come out, and it was like
That's
rocks under the
nuts.
skin.
Ew.
Yeah. So, anyway, so they cleaned me out. I'm in the hospital I think I was in there for a week or so. I was in there for a while for just a standard old road rash. I was in there for a minute because they were worried about internal from the deer head hitting me. They thought something inside might be messed up. So they were running all those tests to make sure I wasn't bleeding inside.
Wow.
And so I was there long enough that it scabbed up real good because they put the bandage on. One thing I noticed while I was at this hospital is they bandaged up all the road rash, and they never once changed the bandages.
Ew.
So when I finally got released, I lived in Heron. I go home, and these bandages had grown the scabs into the bandage. Like, you couldn't pull the bandage off without the scab coming off because the blood had got in the bandage, and it all hardened.
That's so good.
I'm like, well, hell, this ain't good. So I remember that's when I called my mom, and I always went to mama, I was mama's boy.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
I need you to come help me. So I remember I had like cast on my ankle, cast on one leg. I was in the chicken wing sling again because I had a broken collarbone.
Do you have a job at this point? Like, were you off work for a long time?
Yeah, I worked at Crown Line at that time.
Dang.
I worked at the boat factory whenever this happened. And yeah, I was off work for a little bit. 6 weeks or whatever.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Because I had the couple broken bones.
Yeah.
So I remember call my mom. I'm like, come over. So she comes over. My grandpa lived right next door in like this little apartment house next to mine. And he came over, and they took a he didn't come over at first. First it was just my mom. Took a plastic lawn chair and put it in the tub. And I had my boxers on. I needed a shower. I hadn't showered in like 2 weeks.
Lawn chair.
Or a week, however long I'd been in the hospital. So I'm in my boxers, and I got the lawn chair, and my mom's like helping me get into the shower. And as I sat down on this lawn chair, your bathtub's curved at the side.
Yeah.
So the lawn chair was like just as wide as the bathtub.
Yeah.
She set it in there, just like, oh, this will work, and sit on that. And when I'm like, oh, I get in this shower, and I'm like barely able to move. Everything's like super slow with help. And then as I go to sit down and put my weight on the chair, those legs just followed the tub, and they folded right under it. I like landed. I crashed into a pile of like plastic in the tub.
Ow.
So there I lay, and she tried to help me up and couldn't.
God.
So then she had to go get my grandpa. I'm like laying in the tub.
No.
But they had to have hot water and then poured hot water on it and peeled this bandage,
Oh
and it was
my
like peeling the
God.
scab off. It took the
That's
scab off. It
horrible.
was so bad. I was so mad at the hospital for not changing
Yeah,
that
that's
like
so
every
weird
day or
of them that
two.
they didn't.
Yeah. And then they didn't tell me not to use Neosporin. And in my
Yeah.
head, like I seen a couple Neosporin commercials, so I was like, I'm gonna make this shit heal up quick.
Right.
And I packed it in there, and then that wasn't good for it. It fucked
Oh
it up.
God.
Yeah. So I had a big bald spot on my head. What was I like? This is '08, 24. I think I was that old. No,
God, no.
no, '07. I was like 22.
No, you probably was a
I was-
708.
Oh yeah, I lived in Heron, so yeah, I was probably
Yeah.
24, 23,
That's
24.
so weird. So it wasn't that, it seems like the progression of time from you selling drugs to you living on your own and getting off to, out of the drug dealing world and then getting indicted, like boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? Like
It
it seems
happened
like
quick.
it was quick because I feel like you went away when you were like, what, 25?
Yeah,
It's just so weird to think about that.
it
Like
happened pretty quick.
you're
By
just living
24,
your,
I was indicted.
yeah, so this is before your indictment, but like all these crazy things happen leading up to it. It's just weird. You're just out living your life, not knowing what was to come.
Right. I would probably, it was October 8th of 2008 when I got in that wreck. So, I got this big bald spot and big scab on my head. Like it's really messing up my mojo here. Cause it was bad. It was like a bald.
And you didn't wear hats then.
And
like
I didn't
you
wear hats
wouldn't have
then.
had a
And I
hat.
had a bald spot. And is this the side?
Yeah, there's still
and you
scars
can still
there,
see
yeah.
dots on my head
Yeah.
if you look close, like different scars around. But I had this big bald spot. And when the scab comes off, now I'm like, damn. And I didn't wear hats. Luckily, I went to a barber lady, Rhonda.
Yeah.
I went to Rhonda. Like I meet these hairstylists and become attached, and then I end up going to her house, to her salon, and like she's literally like long lost family. Whenever I
Yeah.
see her, I'm
She
like,
was-
Rhonda.
She made our youngest son a baby blanket when he was born.
She did. My hairdresser that I met before I went to prison made our son a baby blanket. Not only that, while I was in prison, and she's married with kids, nothing ever.
Oh yeah, like she's a
She's
very
old,
nice
little
woman.
older,
Yeah.
and nothing ever like flirtatious. Just true friendship. And while I was away in prison, she would write me letters or like send me Christmas cards and stuff. How nice is that?
That was
that she
nice.
thought of me.
She was sweet. She is sweet.
So she hooked me up with a comb over. So I had short hair, longer than this. I used to have like, looks like I don't have no fucking hair. Actually, there's hair there.
Oh, did you get it cut?
Today. You told me to.
I know. I didn't know you had time to go after work. I just realized you got a haircut.
I get a bald fade. So anyway, she leaves it long, and I've got a comb over. I go to a plastic surgeon to get it fixed because now I've got this big bald spot on the side of my head.
Yeah.
And it was just baby ass smooth. Like you could just feel it. It's like brand new skin after it grew back. And the plastic surgeon's like, well, if I cut it and I push it together and sew it together, you're definitely going to have a scar where it sews together.
Yeah.
He's like, or we just wait and see what happens. I'm like, all right. Like 2.5 months. All of a sudden my head starts feeling like a peach.
But so
And
she
it was-
like she would just let a little patch grow long, and you would just
Yeah.
have like shorter hair and then a long
Yeah, because
patch.
it was beside my cowlick, and she would leave it long and leave
and,
it
like,
combed
comb to
over.
the
So I had
side.
like hair, so it didn't look as big. It
Wish
was
I had a
still a
picture
bald
of that.
spot. I know.
That's funny. But anyway, so after a few months,
After a few months, my head starts feeling like a peach, and I get fuzz on it, and I'm like, no way. And hair,
I wouldn't think it would grow back. That's
I don't
so
know how.
weird.
Dude. There was no skin involved in this.
That's
It was ripped
so
off,
Weird.
and it was just meat. And
Ugh.
then somehow, I don't know.
It grew in.
Hair grew back. Follicles grew back.
That's good though. I'm glad.
So, anyways, I didn't have to get that. But the story goes on. This is like the crazy shit I was having to deal with as I was getting off drugs.
Yeah, no kidding. It wasn't an easy road to recovery.
No. So now I need a job because probably, I got better. Right after that's when the boat factory, that next July is when it goes down. No. Oh, yeah, the next July. But at this
When
time.
they closed.
Yeah, but I'm on
Okay.
crutches now, and it was I went to that Halloween party because I was on crutches, and we got a picture of that somewhere. Collins got
Like
it.
a bunch of old
Eli.
friends got
Yeah.
together in their 20s. Yeah.
I was on a recliner at a keg or a bonfire in my crutches, and yeah.
Mhm.
So, I'm needing we're going to the bar. I go out to the bar. I'm on crutches. First time out, second time out, something like that. Still on crutches, all messed up. And I'm at the bar, and it's Halloween now. So we had the Halloween party. It's after that. And I'm talking to this guy, one of my friends' brother-in-law, basically, my buddy's wife's brother. I meet this guy for the first time. My buddy I've known all my life. So we're at the bar, and this guy's cool as hell. He seems all right. You know, we're shooting the shit. He's a big old farm boy. And we're talking, and I'm getting drunk. I'm wasted. I haven't drank in 2 months or whatever, so it's really kicking in. And and I'm not mean at all. But, you know, when guys are guys and they're drinking, we might, you know, make a little snide joke
bullies,
or whatever.
yeah,
We're little bullies. So this girl comes walking up, and she's looking kind of rough.
She wasn't
not my type. And I look at this new guy, handsome feller, and I'm like, God, I thought Halloween was over.
Oh.
Joking, just making a dumbass joke. And he goes, that's my wife. And I said, yeah, right. I looked at him, I was like, yeah, right, that ain't your wife. And she comes over and she kissed him. I was like, oh my gosh, I did not just do that. I felt this big,
That's
you know.
like so bad.
That's so bad. I just meet the guy and then I say that his wife's wearing a Halloween costume and it was her. So we get to drinking. I get too drunk. My good buddy I've known all my life's like, let old girl's brother take you home. His wife will follow. And
so you have your car.
So I don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I was too drunk. So I'm like, all right. As we leave the bar, his wife's following in their car. I'm on crutches. I'm in a Camry. Remember, I had a little baby blue Camry. It matched my eyes. And he's like, hey, what do you say we ditch my wife and go to Teddy's? And I'm like, all right. Now you're coming around. Now you're my kind of guy. You know, I was like, let's do it. So we start going faster, and we end up losing her.
Oh,
like,
my
she can't
God.
keep up. Yeah. So we go to Teddy's, and that's where I kind of start blacking out at Teddy's. Like, I was drunk.
Dang.
And it was at the point in my life where I thought, like, drink more would be okay. Right. I should have stopped when I got drunk. I was still drinking.
Making bad choices.
Go to Teddy's. We had to have went back to my house because the punching bag had blood on it, and my knuckles were bloody the next day. God. So I must have been like, come check this out. I'm like, ugh. Jesus. So then, the next thing I know, I'm driving from my house, then I drive again.
What?
Yeah, so like we're both drunk, and
Jeez.
I know it's not a good thing to drink and drive, but I was young, and that's what I did. So we're going down the road, and I tried to go off in a field and do donuts, but it was a front wheel.
Camry?
It was a front wheel drive car, so I was having to pull the e-brake and spin it around.
Oh my God!
But I was so drunk that I was on Strawberry, and I was so drunk I hit the ditch, jumped the road, hit the ditch, and now I'm in somebody's yard, and I hit this little tree that's like this big around, and the car lifts up and it's stuck on this tree. I'm like, damn, and I'm on crutches, and it's front wheel drive, so it won't go nowhere.
God.
So big old farm boy gets out, goes out there, pushes off the car off the tree. We burn out. How we got to Giant City Road, I have no clue. That's far. Ugh. Not even close to where I lived.
Yeah, you're lucky.
So we finally make it to Giant City Road, where this guy lives. I just met this guy tonight. I know he's got a wife that's not very attractive in my mind. But I don't care because I'm really drunk. I'm on crutches. He's like, stay at my house in the morning. He's like, we're fucked up. I mean, we just hit a tree. We don't even know how we got here. Like, we are lucky to get there. So he's like, just stay here and then go home in the morning. I'm like, all right, cool. So we go in. This dude lived with his parents. Oh. So him and his wife lived in the basement. And we go down the basement stairs. And I remember we go in this like finished basement, and there's like a bed and a couch beside the bed.
Yeah.
And there's the wife in the bed sleeping. And he gets in the bed or whatever, and I get on the couch. And I remember I put my keys on the end table. I emptied my pockets there for whatever reason. It's just habit. I always empty my pockets so I can't sleep. And I go to sleep, but I'm blackout drunk. So I pass out on this guy's couch. And I wake up to this hand rubbing on my stomach. But I'm still asleep, right? So I'm out of it, and all of a sudden this hand gets a little more friendly and starts getting in my waistband line. And I'm like waking up. I'm coming from like an out of sleep state, and I'm trying to think in my head, like, who the fuck is did I take home or what's going on here? And when it hit me, because I'm still asleep, but it hit me before I like woke up and opened my eyes. Like I was asleep with my eyes, and I felt this hand, and it hit me that where I was at, and I jump up, and this fucking dude had his hand trying to go in my pants while I
Oh
was
my
asleep.
God.
Yeah, so this shit don't just happen to women; it happens to men too, especially if you look good like me. And I'm on fucking crutches at the time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so like, dude doesn't know me. Like, he doesn't know that I'm all crazy as shit.
Right.
But,
And he's like, gets you shit faced and then tries to take advantage.
yeah.
Like,
But I
date
was
rape.
like seriously still really hurt at this time.
Right.
So I wake up and I jump up, and the dude, like all in the same motion, pulls his hand back and acts like he's asleep in the bed with his wife.
Oh my God.
Now, granted, I am fucked up. So like, I didn't see him doing it. I just felt him. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was
But
like,
you know what you felt.
yeah, I just seen him like going like that, going back to the bed, and I know I felt a hand in my waistband. I'm like, what the fuck? I jump up, and I'm like, what the fuck? So I see my keys on the end table, and I grab them, and I got my crutches, and I start crutching the. I don't even like when I wake up. I don't even know where I'm at. Like I'm in this room,
Oh my
and I've never been here before, you know. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I
With
see
these
this
people
door
you
with these stairs.
Yeah. Oh, you're like in a basement.
I
Dude,
don't
that's
even.
scary.
Yeah, I don't even know where I'm going. I'm headed for these stairs, and I crutch over there, and at this time he's acting like he's asleep, and his wife wakes up. She hears me jump up because I was like, what the fuck? I jump up,
Right.
and she's like, oh, jabroni. She's like, jabroni, he's trying to leave, and he's all, oh, what, acting like he's asleep.
Oh.
And I'm still trying to gain traction, you know, I'm getting the hell out of
Get
here,
speed going.
but I can hear it going on behind me. And he jumps up and he comes after me, and I remember I turned around at the stairs, and he was like coming up, and I jarred my crutch at him. I was like, get back.
Like a lion tamer.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I was like, get back. And
oh
he was
my
like,
God.
he's like, hey, hold on. He's like, I want to talk to you. And I was like, I know what the fuck you just tried to do. I was like, get the fuck back. I was fucking hurt. I'd fucking cast on
Dude,
and
that's
shit.
scary as hell.
Yeah. I was like, get back. And he stops, and I fucking leave. And I don't remember. I get in my car, and how I got from there to home, I have no clue. I don't remember driving. I don't remember that.
I wonder how much time had passed from when you went to bed to him doing that. Like, it may have just been 30
I mean,
minutes.
we didn't get there till 3 or 4 in the morning,
Oh
probably.
my
So
God.
it was still dark. It wasn't long. I passed out pretty quick.
That's
I mean, I was fucking
That's
wasted.
crazy.
So, or maybe I wasn't. Maybe I was just starting to go to sleep, like, you know, where you're really starting to dream, and I'm like,
When
what
you're
the
drunk,
fuck?
though, things like,
Yeah. So I get home, but the next morning, the next thing I remember leaving the first bar. And at first, I don't even remember going to the next bar and ditching his wife. That's how drunk I was at the first bar.
Right.
So I wake up the next morning. My head's pounding. I mean, I'm dying. You know, I'm like puking. Like, what the fuck happened last night? And after I get my bearings of like dying, you know, I make my way to the couch in the living room. And I'm like, man, I cannot remember how did I get so fucked up. He might
have drugged
fucking
you.
date raped me, and I not.
He
yes.
really might have.
Gosh, that's a possibility
That's
because
scary.
I was blackout, and I've only been blackout like that like twice, and that's one of
You used
them.
to be able to drink quite a bit,
Yeah, I could throw them back. Still can.
but we choose not to.
I mean, I get shitty when I do.
That's not a good look.
Yeah, not saying I can.
It's a maturity thing. Jesse knows that getting wasted, nothing good is going to come from that. Like, you're either going to end up fighting, or we
Every
don't
time.
drink and drive. So it's like, what's the point?
Well, now we have Uber. Back when I'm talking about drinking and driving, we didn't have that option. We had Red Top Taxi, and the motherfuckers would never come to where I was to get me.
None of that makes it okay, but
Right. So, anyways, I wake up the next morning. I'm
Realize
laying
you had
there.
been
I'm sitting on
blacked
the
out.
couch. Yeah, I'm sitting on the couch, and I look out at my car, and my car's bumper's all like fucked up,
you tore it
where I
up.
hit the tree, and the windshield was busted.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what the fuck? I wrecked. I got in a wreck last night. I'm like, I made it home, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, damn, what did I hit? And then I remembered the tree, and I'm like, oh, I did hit a tree, and the dude pushed me off. And then all of a sudden, like, I literally, when I woke up, I had no recollection of this. But all of a sudden, it hit me after like 30 minutes of being awake. I'm trying to remember what happened. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh my gosh, that dude I met tried to fucking stick his hand in my pants. And I'm like, how the fuck do I go about this? Because he was married, and he's married to and one of my best friends since fucking grade school. This is his wife's brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so I messaged my buddy, and I'm like, bro, I think your brother-in-law tried, but I also don't know because I was so black out. I don't know if that happened or not. It's kind of a question.
And I think that's what's so sad about stuff like that is I think that happens with women a lot when they are drinking at all, and then something like that happens, and you question yourself, and they think,
I was in
wait, like, was I that drunk, or were they drugged? They don't know if they were, or like if you were just that drunk, like then you're like, well, I don't want to report it because what if I am overthinking this? What if that didn't happen that way? What if it was a dream and I was that drunk? Like, which is so sad and so messed up.
Right.
But I think that happens
I think it happens a lot too.
To men or women, but women talk about it more, or you know what I mean? It comes up more.
Well, this shit happened to me one time too.
Yeah, it's scary.
So, I tell my buddy, I'm like, dude, I think your brother-in-law tried to put his hand down my pants last night, but I'm like, what do you think about this?
Right.
Like, do you think that's a possibility? Because that's what I'm remembering.
Like, you know this guy.
And he's like, I think he sent back LOL. I think that's what he said. And I'm like, what the fuck?
You're like, I'm really concerned here.
So I tell his wife, who at this time, I didn't really know her that well. I just knew her through him.
Your friend, yeah.
You know, every couple times I seen him. And, well, she was a bartender at the bar that we're at Fat Jack's. Mm. Shout out to Fat Jack's. It's no longer in business, but it's a Freedom Bar.
Yeah.
So I kind of drop it because I'm still in my head just not knowing if that even happened or not, or if I was tripping, or like, did I have some fucked up dream? I don't know, but I couldn't remember none of it. And now that you said roofie, like, I've never heard of roofie, or I've never actually seen anybody sell roofie. I've never had somebody say like, hey, you want to buy a roofie? You know what I mean?
Right.
But I guess it is a real thing.
It totally is. I've been with friends who like all of a sudden are like fall down and you're like, you haven't drank that much. What just happened? We've all been together for the last couple hours, and all of a sudden you're like, can't stand up, like you're hunched over, and luckily there's like friends around, but you're like, for two girls and guys, I've seen that happen too. They're all of a sudden they're like, oh, and it's like something's happened here.
Yeah.
That's scary.
So I tell the girl, and she's like, she gets all mad at me, and she's like, my brother's not gay, he's married and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'll drop it. Kind of like you said, like because I don't know, and I don't know the guy, I never see him again, I've never seen him before. I'm like, okay, whatever.
So I'll never see this dude.
Because I'm still kind of wondering about it. I do know I've got to get a windshield and my bumper's cracked.
So like, yeah.
So like 6 months goes by. Well, that was in October-ish, or like right after. And the boat factory closed in July. So like 6-7 months later, and I'm out of a job because they shut down. So I call my buddy because he's got a good job doing dish, the satellite install. So I called my buddy and I'm like, hey, I need a job. He's like, yeah, I got you. You know, I can get you a job doing dish. But so my other buddy, also named Jabroni, worked for this company. So, and I didn't know the jabroni that tried to stick his hand in my pants worked for the company.
Okay, you thought it was just the other jabroni.
Yeah,
it's a common name.
Worked for this company. My buddy's like, you'll have to train with him. I'm like, cool, tell him to pick me up at my house. And I was going to ride with him for 2 weeks, paid training, and then I'd go out on my own. So there I am, my fucking lunchbox. You know, I'm sitting out, new job. I just lost my job. I lived in Heron, so I had my own place. Thinking, damn, and my roommate worked with me, so we both lost our job. We got to find some jobs.
Yeah,
luckily we both went to Dish.
Oh, I didn't know that dump truck worked there too.
Dude, I think he did. Or you know what? He might have went to the Bit place. He might not have done Dish, but we both lost our job at the same time. So I'm sitting outside my house, my little lunchbox, and I see this truck coming down the road, and I'm like, all right, it's like 6 a.m. Little Dish Network truck coming down the road. The dude pulls up, and I'll be damned if it ain't the jabroni that stuck his fucking hand in my pants.
Shut up.
Oh, the things we do for money.
Yeah. You had to go work with this guy one-on-one for 2 weeks straight.
Fuck, my rent is due. And I didn't know. I still was questioning myself. Like, this is deep down. I didn't know if this dude did this or not.
You know
what I mean? I was that blacked
drunk,
out.
so you're like, yeah, you're going to question yourself.
That everybody else is telling me, no, it didn't happen.
Right, like, no, he's not like that.
And I'm like, all right, maybe I fucking had a fucked up dream or something. I don't know. So that's how weird and blacked out I was. Like, I couldn't remember it. So I'm like, okay. So I go train with this guy, hop in the truck, and I dropped it after they were saying it wasn't. So I never tried to like beat him up like normal. Yeah. And he's like, acting normal as fuck. Like a country boy.
Yeah.
For like 2 weeks, we fucking trained together. And I'm like, and he's making jokes about gay people.
What?
I'm like, dude, I was tripping. I'm thinking
Shut
maybe I was
up.
tripping
This
because
is
this guy
so
would be like,
weird.
oh, look at that fucking fag, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So this is weird. Like, I'm like going through it, like trying to figure out.
He's like a true predator because he's now like manipulating you to make sure. He's making sure that you don't think that he could possibly have done that to you.
Right.
Oh.
That's fucking weird,
It's
huh?
weird.
So, like, I trained with this guy for 2 weeks. Well, I get done with that training, and I got to train for, like, another week with a different guy, different tech. So they're technicians. But the whole 2 weeks, we'd work 12, 13 hours. He never gave me any sign that anything was weird or that he was weird,
Yeah.
Fucking weird. We were drinking beer on the way home. I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so I get with another dude, Bo, and I train with him. We're driving, first day. I just meet Bo, but everybody knows me. So, like, basically, I'm getting to know you, but he knew all about me for some reason. I don't know how. But we're talking, and he's like, well, how'd you like training with Jabroni? I was like, I just met this guy. I'm like, dude, I'm going to tell you something, but I don't know if it's true or not. I'm like, I'm going to tell you what my feeling is. And he's like, what's up? I'm like, dude, this one time, I was out at the bar drinking with that guy, and I think he stuck his hand, and he said, you ain't even got to finish. He said, you ain't even got to finish. So Bo's brother fought MMA. He was over at dude's house one night, my buddy that had a kegger, and him and Jabroni were late night after the party's over. They're going to stay there because they're all drunk.
Yeah.
He said his brother fought MMA, and Jabroni's wanting to wrestle in the living room. It was just them two. And he thought it was because he sparred, or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's sparring with him a little bit. And he said as he's sparring with him, all of a sudden he starts feeling him fucking grabbing his dick and shit.
No way.
So he said his brother choked him out. And once he passed out, he left him in the living room and left.
No way.
And told his brother about it. So I'm like, the dude is. Because that's my first clue. Like, I didn't have nothing before but this image in my head of like,
you're
what
like
happened.
confident it happened, but it's sometimes like you're saying you can't help but second guess yourself.
Yeah.
If he's not acting weird now and his family or friends are
I
saying
seriously
he's
think
not,
I might have been drugged because I don't remember anything from Hearst.
Yeah.
I had to piece together the other stuff. Like slowly, it all came back, and I was looking at my punching bag. I'm like, how'd the blood get on there?
Right, that's weird.
I didn't do it this morning, so at some point we had to stop by.
And that's weird you wouldn't remember being. And why would you like just stay at your house? The whole thing's weird.
That's weird, right?
Yeah.
So my buddy tells me this about his brother. I'm like, that fucker. But he's still got a wife. It's like hard to prove this guy's a predator if he's got a wife and you're too fucked up to remember.
Predators work in mysterious ways.
That's
They're
right.
little sneaks. It's terrifying.
So, like 2 years later, this dude drug this shit out for a long time. Like, and now I'm working around him, see him, Jabroni. I can't,
Right?
because he acts like a normal dude. I'm thinking I just had a fucked up dream or something. And like 2 years later, some bitch goes to work out of town, come back with a little boyfriend, left his wife,
no way.
and got married. And I'm like, and that's when it all hit me, like literally 2 years after.
Like you had 100% assurance, like that this guy is.
I've been
obviously
telling you,
the guys.
motherfuckers. I think I called all of them. Did you see that shit on Facebook? Jabroni got a husband. I'm like, what in the motherfucker?
Like I told you this, guys. Oh man.
The story doesn't end there.
It doesn't.
No. So I'm gonna tell all of Jabroni's story while I'm talking about it because I won't talk about it
That was
anymore.
whole story.
So then, fast forward a few years, like now. My buddy had just got with the girlfriend at the time, but then later she became his wife, and it was her brother. So like when that all happened, they were just dating.
But they were together for like 10 or 13 years, I think, before they got married.
Which it was like 10 years ago or something. It was like when they first started dating or around that time. So I go to prison during that while they're together.
Right.
And then I come home, and now I'm going to be in their wedding, her and my buddy. And I get my hair cut over at Clips in Carbondale, where my buddy's old lady worked. But now my buddy is cool as fuck. This old lady I didn't really know because I'd been to prison and I didn't, I just knew her a little bit before I went. And then now I'm home. I'm going to be in their wedding because it's one of my best friends. And but I do know she's like hitting Facebook hard, like every day at the time. and it's kind of annoying me, whatever she was doing on Facebook or whatever,
Yeah.
like every day complaining. So I'm being their wedding. I go get my hair cut, and this girl's like, "Oh, so and so used to cut your hair," and I'm like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Oh, she doesn't work here no more." And this is my buddy's old lady. She doesn't work here anymore. This girl just starts going off. Now, when I walked in, I seen this real familiar person, but wasn't very attractive to me. But I couldn't remember who it was, sitting in the front row at Sports Clips. And she's like, I'm like, I know that girl, but God,
Couldn't
she's
place her.
ugly. No.
Oh.
But man, I couldn't place her. So I'm getting my hair cut. The girl cut my hair. They see on the tickets like who your previous
Yeah.
beautician was or whatever. And then she's like, "Oh, so and so cut your hair," and I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "She doesn't work here anymore." I'm like, "Why?" And she's like, just drama. And I'm like, "Oh, girl, tell me about it." But anyways, I'm like, so I'm listening. This girl just goes on a rant, talking shit, and I'm fucking right there with her because I didn't know this girl no more than Adam. I'm like, "Tell me about it, girl." And she's like, "She done this and that." I'm like, "Yeah, you won't believe what she wanted me to do one time," just like bitching,
Yeah.
venting. I think I'm by myself. The whole time I do kind of see this kind of unattractive girl over here, kind of in my peripheral. You know what I mean? I can see her over there listening. She was ear hustling, but that happens a lot. So
Yeah.
I go to cat right before I get done cutting my hair. It fucking hits me again. I think these motherfuckers are date raping nonstop because it was like all of a sudden it hit me right at the end of the haircut. I said, and I'm going to be in these people's wedding, and I realize it's the girl's brother's wife sitting next to me.
Jabroni's ex-wife.
Jabroni's-
That he left for the guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Jabroni's ex-wife is sitting next to me at Sports Clips,
Listening to all the crap you guys
listening
are
to
talking.
me and this random girl I never met before talk all this shit about these people, not
Oh.
people, but girls whose wedding I'm going to be in.
Ooh.
Like, I think that is Jabroni's wife or so-and-so's sister-in-law. And the girl's like, "No." And I was like, "I don't know, but I do feel like that girl right there looks familiar, and I think that might be her sister-in-law." So that's it. We get up and we leave. Jabroni's wife is in front of me paying, but I'm still not knowing if this is all the same person, right? And I'm standing behind her, and the girl who cut her hair's checking her out, but my beautician's behind her. And when this girl, Jabroni's wife, gets done paying, she turns around and she said, "And I am so-and-so's sister-in-law." And I'm telling her all that shit you said. So the whole time I was getting my hair cut, my phone's in my pocket, vibrating, right? Damn, Ellie's trying to get a hold of me, right? I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But I didn't check it because I'm getting my hair cut in a cape.
I'm glad you were so unconcerned that you thought I was blowing up your phone.
Well, I mean, I was getting my hair cut. You can't stop the trash talk and check the phone in the middle of that and fuck up the vibe. So anyways, I go outside. Oh, she says, "I am Jabroni's wife." I'm telling her everything. She storms out. I look at the girl that's cutting my hair because she used to work with her. Like,
Right.
She was her manager. They know each other.
Uh-oh.
I was like, "Damn, we got busted." And I go to leave, and now it's all hit me like this is that girl. Because like up until she turned around and said that, I was still questioning. And then she stormed out. I walk out. She's walking back in. She's going to give the girl another piece of her mind.
Oh, wow.
She said something to me, and I said, "Hey, your fucking husband tried to fucking rape me one night." I was like, "You fucking knew about it too."
You called her out on
Yeah,
that.
I called her out on that. Like, "Hey, what the fuck? You guys are up to no good." So
Right?
that was into that. Then I get in the truck. I look at my phone, and it's my good lifelong friend, Summer, telling me, like, sending me pictures that Jabroni's wife was taking of me with the beautician. Now my good friend's already got them
Oh,
through the chain.
Good Lord. Sending them back to you being like,
Yeah,
shut up.
sending them back to me telling me, "Shut up."
Oh my
Jabroni's wife's
God.
here. And I'm ignoring the messages. I'm just like, "That bitch,
La, la,
I'll
la,
tell you."
Yeah. I remember you called me when you left the hair salon and you were like, "I fucked up real bad." And I was like, "What do you mean? You were just went to get your haircut? Like, what happened?" And you were like, "It's bad. What do I do?"
I was
man.
like, wedding was, I think I was getting my hair cut for
their wedding.
Yeah.
I had to talk you through it. Because
I just got caught talking shit about the bride.
I feel like that's one of those things, like you're not one that usually just sits around talking crap about people. And I feel like it's like one of those moments where you're like bored, you're getting your hair cut, this girl wants to talk crap. So you're like, all right, let's talk some crap. And then it was like, of course you got caught, and it's just such a bad look. And
Here's my theory on that. Everywhere I go, I mean, it's hard to find, like, my group of friends, we're not, if we talk crap about each other, we're like doing it in fun with each other. We don't talk
like
crap
openly.
about each other. But I work around a lot of different people nonstop. Everybody's always bitching about everybody, right?
Right.
So I've just became accustomed to being like, agreeing
Right.
to hear just to get them to shut the fuck up and leave me alone. So now, then you start doing that, and everybody's coming to you talking shit. And it ain't long, and you're kicked back with some fucking popcorn. And you're like, that fucking lazy motherfucker, I'll tell you what.
That's funny.
So yeah, you gotta just make sure you don't get
Caught.
tied up in their shit. Yeah, I got caught up in their shit, got caught.
Dang.
So that was the story about breaking my leg and jabroni.
Those are some crazy things. Crazy chain of events.
And yeah, let's talk a little business. So what do we got going on? We are busier than ever before. We are so busy. We have a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
So we got the office building, a new office building. I told you last time or the time before we get an office building. So
Yeah.
we got one.
We're renting one until we buy one because
Right.
we can't find anything we like for the right price.
But we're looking at a lot of different options.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good things on the horizon.
Yeah.
Our son promoting the 8th grade. So we're going to do a little weekend getaway with him, friends, a little celebration. That'll be fun. So then with the business, the office building we tried to buy at auction that didn't work out. They canceled us out whenever we won the auction. They wanted it $62,250. They called me and they said the owner wants $150 for it. I'm like, well, that's more than twice what I just won it at the auction.
And we didn't even want to give that much.
With no reserve. And I had buyer's remorse at $62,000. And so this past week I get a phone call, and it's the guy that owns the building. He's like, hey, so yeah, I got your number from so-and-so. Were you wanting to buy that building? And I was like, yeah, it's 62. But now I've lost interest. And he's like, well, it's a real good lot. I'd take 100. I'm like, okay, well, good luck. You know, I mean, it had a hole in the roof. So
That's crazy.
I think he's having a little regret that he didn't finish that auction. Because I'd say now the auction company's pissed off.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because, I mean, it made them look bad.
Yeah. I mean, they wasted a lot of time, too. Just
Yeah.
like we did.
Yeah, they spent time.
Everybody
on it.
wasted time.
Right. So that was an option. He called. He wants way too much for it. I mean, it would just be basically demoing a building.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
just
we'd
putting
have to
100 grand into it.
totally gut that building or literally demo and rebuild. And I'm not going to do that starting out at 100 grand.
Right.
No way.
We had a little learning curve. We did rent our building. We can finally say that. We
Yeah.
hadn't mentioned that before. So we had potential renters for our building, and we ended up renting our building. So it went to a good renter for a 5-year lease.
So that was great.
We won't have to worry about them
Good.
paying.
Looks like
so.
great tenants. I
Yeah.
don't expect any issues.
They moved in, and we'd done all this work on this building, remodeling it. And one of the last steps, we're like, look at this. We're putting new smoke detectors in. And we saw on the wall where there was an old one that looked like it was hardwired in. And we took it out and we capped off the wires. And then we drywalled it or mudded it, you know, and fixed
No, we didn't. Jesse was not there. He's trying to probably
I'm just
save
trying
me. So what actually happened was there was a weird hardwired area in the wall that weren't for sure what it was. We assumed it was an old hardwired smoke detector. So it was like the last thing that needed to be repaired or taken care of in the building. And so we have a contractor that's been helping us do some like loose ends. And I met him over there and I showed him this, and he may have even said it was an old thermostat. I don't know, because I'm doing so many things at once. I'm like half listening most of the time, doing other things at the same time. So I was like, well, I just need this covered up. So I ordered these round covers, or he's like, yeah, I can like cut these wires, cap them, put them in the wall. And then we'd already painted and everything, so we're not going to drywall that spot. So I just ordered these round covers to put in the hole where this round hardwired thing had been, and had him cut it all off and put that over. So there's like a little white round thing on the wall, no big deal. So then it finally warmed up lately, and that building's like all blocked, so it stays cool. And our brand new tenants called and were like, the air's not working. I was like, that doesn't make any sense, because we've had the AC company come and do like an inspection and all this stuff, and everything worked like a month ago. And so I called him out, and the guy cannot figure out why the air is not working. He's like, everything should be working. Doesn't make sense. He's like totally shocked, doesn't know what's going on, troubleshooting, calling his boss. And finally, he's like, is there a chance there's a second thermostat in this building? And I was like, no. And then I think about it for a second, and I'm like, oh, I was like, I did just have someone cut some wires in the wall in the conference room like 3 weeks ago. And he's like, you don't have a picture of that, do you? I'm like, yeah, I do have a picture of it because I sent it to him to show him what to do. And it was totally a second thermostat. So I had him disconnect like the air the way it was wired. And luckily that Charlie's Heating and Air could bypass what I did and like made it all work again. It was no big deal. But I was like, it was totally my fault. And I felt
Luckily,
totally
it wasn't the
stupid.
dead heat of summer.
Right.
I mean, it's still
Right.
cool
It
out.
wasn't super
They
scorching
just
hot
turned
in
it
there.
on the first time.
And they
So
noticed that it wasn't blowing cool air. But it's like, that's definitely like learning curve stuff. Just like little stupid stuff that like I didn't, because there wasn't a cover on that thermostat, so I didn't know what it was. I just knew it was wires in the wall. So
a lot of
funny,
stuff
little
going
stuff
on.
like that.
A lot of business stuff. We're just completely swamped this time of the year. But it's every business that's growing. They're swamped. So
Yeah, I think it's hard because like even though we're often busy all year round, no matter what's going on, like when you are trying to grow and make different moves, then you get busy again like you were at the beginning, where like you're working at night and over the weekend, and it's awful. Like I hate it. Like lately I've been having to work after dinner in my office, and I've been having to work on the weekends doing stuff. And it's not fun. And it's definitely one of those things where you have to just like try to remind yourselves of like what your goals are and like why you're doing all of this to get to where you want to be, because like sometimes you just lose sight of that, and then it feels so pointless and stupid, and you're just exhausted at all times. So it's like you have to remind yourself of what your goals are, and why you're putting in all this time and effort, even though it's brutal, that eventually it should pay off. So, the busy stuff, it's a thing to be grateful for, I guess, because I'd rather us be busy than sitting around with, no phones ringing and no bills to pay, and.
it's weird when you're starting out and you're not busy. You're like, man, be busy.
Yeah,
And then whenever you are busy, you're like, man, if I could just be sitting around
have a break.
having a break. So you got to give and take a little bit. But that's where we're at. We're in the work season now. The rain's starting to let up. River's starting to go down from the last
Finally.
episode. So, but that's where we're at. Reckless Success. Join us next 2 weeks. We'll do another episode. Let you know what kind of crazy shit we've gotten into. Thanks, guys. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up. You can follow us on TikTok and YouTube at reckless.success, Instagram at recklesssuccess. We're on Spotify and all major podcast services. Hit that subscribe button, please. For more information on May Excavating, check out our website or TikTok. That's a wrap. Thanks.